31 presents The Grim Reaper.
Hello and welcome to this year's 31 and 31. I'm John from Just Another Horror Podcast. You can find our show on Podbean and iTunes. You have to look under John Sequitur, but it's there. You can also find us on YouTube. That's where you are right now. We got all kinds of old episodes here, so check us out. Today, to start things off for 2017, I decided to go through my DVDs and just pick ones I haven't talked about or read. So it starts out in alphabetical order, and then I ran out of DVDs, so I went to Netflix. Yeah, DVDs still exist. Get over it, you rich fucks. Alright. Anthropophagus the Beast, a.k.a. the Grim Reaper, a.k.a. the Anthropophagus Beast. Or just Anthropophagus, it doesn't matter. This is a movie that made it onto the video nasties because of a particular scene we're going to get to later. But in this movie, we have a wrestler named George Eastman who plays a monster who eats people. The reasoning behind it is... I don't know. I don't know why he's doing it. I mean, there's like a small explanation later, but we'll get there. Movie starts out like Jaws. After we have some terrible music at the beginning because it's an Italian movie, so of course the music is just awful. But these two vacationers get to an island, they go into the beach and immediately die. One of them gets hit in the head with an axe, which is just the worst, and the other one gets dragged underwater and then just blood is in the water. Who knows? Leave it up to interpretation as to what happened there. And this is the last that we'll see of the monster or his actions for quite a while. After this, a whole bunch of friends in their 30s show up on the island because Tisafaro is like, hey, my friends live there. And they're like, wait, the island, there's no way there. There must be a reason for it. Jason, move over a little bit. There you go. Get yourself in the shot. Don't be shy. And they all show up at the island, and it's a completely deserted town. So they do some exploration and find bodies all over the place. Mind you, we're only 30 minutes in. So at this point, I'm like, this is going to be fast-paced. But the problem with this movie is the pacing. It's just... it's no good. Like, this movie has a lot of potential, but it takes too much time doing nothing. For instance, there's a scene where a psychic girl is jealous of Tisafaro because she likes the guy that the psychic girl likes. So she chases her all around town through the woods, locks her in a cemetery, and all this music's playing, and you're like, oh man, here we go! Nothing. She just bumps back into her friends. And it takes a good 5 minutes of running around this cemetery for no reason. Speaking of the psychic girl, there's a few scenes in this movie that are like worth checking out. They do a good job of building suspense, but they ruin it by the pacing. She's playing with her fortune teller cards, and here, take a look.
This row of cards is the past, this one is the present, and this is the future.
Oh, come on, Carol. Let's forget about the past and the present. I know all about them anyway. Let's skip right to the future.
Okay. Now, choose 3 and turn them over. There. And now, turn over 1 in the other row.
You awake? Hey, Carol.
But Carol, why did you stop?
I guess because the cards hadn't answered. And I believe in these cards. And when I don't see clearly, I can't just invent things.
Carol, if the cards didn't answer you, why worry so much?
If you ask the cards about the future and don't get any answer, that means there is no future.
is creepy. And you would think they could build off this. Like, she just throws the cards in the water like that. But they don't. They don't build on it. They do a lot of Coke product placement, but they don't do a good job of... It's like they had some good ideas, and they didn't put them together. Anyway, the monster finally shows up at like 50 minutes into the movie, attacks a blind girl with armpit hair, and then just starts eating people's necks. And eventually he wanders into a cave where he has kidnapped the pregnant woman who stuck her foot in a bucket earlier, right on top of a plastic head. Does this make any sense to you? Am I doing a good job of explaining it? Because there's not much to it. I'm kind of jumping all over, which is amazing that there's this much to jump back and forth to. Like, thinking back right now, the movie's not that full of stuff. But he goes to the cave, the pregnant woman's in there, pregnant woman's husband's in there, and it does a flashback out of nowhere, just right in the middle of this scene. And it shows George Eastman's character on a boat with his family, his wife and his kid. His kid's dead. It's not a boat, it's a life raft. And I guess he's hungry, kind of like those cartoons. He starts seeing his family as like turkey or something, so he grabs a knife, and his wife's like, don't eat him. And George Eastman's like, we gotta eat, man, I'm hungry, and he's dead, and what are we gonna do with him? I mean, come on. And she's like, oh yeah? And she gets stabbed, and then she's, dead. But she's like, eat me, you son of a bitch! And he's like, wah, 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 wah. And somehow, this act turns him insane. Now, he makes it home to the island, which would tell me that they would have been fine if they would have drifted, like, I don't know, a day more without stabbing each other. Anyway, he gets to the island and becomes a monster. His face gets all fucked up. He develops a taste for human flesh. I guess his family was that good. And another thing, he kills the entire town. The entire town. Now, they make, like, passing mention that maybe the cops couldn't stop him, but they just kind of go, oh, the cops couldn't do anything about it. He's not inhuman, as you'll see later on in the movie. He's just like a guy with some nasty skin disease. Anyway, back to the cave, he eats a baby. Yeah. That's why this is on the Video Nasties. He reaches right in there, gets the pregnant girl's baby, and eats it. It's clearly a rabbit wrapped in bacon. I mean, it's clearly not a human, or anything resembling a human fetus. Not that I've ever seen one in real life, but it was enough to make the DPP, as they were called in England, put the movie on the Video Nasties list. Well, at least they, saw something that made them want to put it on there, as opposed to other movies where they just heard about it or saw the video art cover, Driller Killer. And yes, we're getting there this year. Anyway, the monster continues to run around. He pulls a person through a roof and eats their neck. He, I think, eats another guy's neck at some point. And then his sister hangs herself after leaving a note saying that she knew what was going on. And that's how the characters figure everything out. And you know what? Parts of this movie are kind of like a haunted house kind of thing. They got candles walking around, creepy music, dark houses. But the lighting is bad. But it's got like a haunted house creepy feel to it, but it just doesn't really capitalize on it. It's got a cemetery. It doesn't capitalize on it. It's got this backstory of this tortured guy, but the guy doesn't have any depth because when you actually meet him... Jason, are you hiding again? There we go. When you actually meet him, he doesn't have any emotion. He's just a flesh-eating machine. Kind of like, Jaws, which, not surprisingly, they open the movie with Jaws. At the end, he gets his belly cut open and eats his guts, and then dies. So that's a hell of an ending, but he's obviously human. So I don't understand why nobody in the village could stop him unless nobody tried to. Would I recommend this movie? It's not as terrible as I remember it being. It's not good. Certainly not good. Joe D'Amato was never known for his awesome filmmaking abilities. But there are bits and pieces in here that make this an okay horror movie to maybe have on during a party or something, because there's a lot of walking around in the dark with flashlights and candles, and there's a lot of, monster stuff going on. So sure, put it on at your Halloween party or something. We'll be back tomorrow! Bye!